The stars above stretched like silver threads across the endless night. Captain Ethan Shaw, a human explorer, had been traveling alone in his small starship, the Aurora, for months. The galaxy was vast, full of unknown worlds, strange creatures, and civilizations that humans had only read about in ancient records. He had grown used to the quiet hum of his ship, the soft blinking of consoles, and the occasional distant glow of a far-off planet. But tonight, the calm of space was about to be broken in a way he could never have imagined. A sudden alarm on the Aurora's sensors drew him out of his thoughts. He leaned over the console, reading the blinking lights. An unknown ship, massive and ancient in design, was drifting nearby, its systems flickering as if damaged. No communication had been sent, no signals exchanged. Ethan's curiosity outweighed his caution. He adjusted his course and moved closer, scanning the vessel. When he arrived, the ship appeared more like a relic than a functioning spacecraft. Its hull shimmered with faint energy lines, and strange symbols etched along its sides glowed faintly. He could feel a strange vibration in the air around it, something that made his skin tingle. Taking a deep breath, he donned his helmet, grabbed his toolkit, and prepared to board. The docking process was rough. The old ship's magnetic locks resisted, and the moment he stepped inside, a wave of cold air met him. He activated his flashlight, the beam cutting through darkness filled with floating debris and broken machinery. Every step echoed against metal walls, and the silence felt alive, almost watching him. "Hello?" Ethan called softly. His voice sounded small and fragile in the massive, broken chamber. He didn't expect an answer, and at first none came. Then a soft, musical voice replied, barely above a whisper. "Please, don't be afraid," Ethan froze. The voice was delicate, almost otherworldly. Following the sound, he rounded a corner and saw her. She was unlike anything he had ever seen. A young, beautiful alien woman stood in the center of a softly glowing chamber. Her skin shimmered faintly in silver tones, and her eyes reflected the light like twin moons. Her hair floated slightly as if untouched by gravity, cascading around her shoulders. She looked fragile, yet her presence filled the space with a strange authority. I'm Ethan Shaw," he said cautiously. "Who are you?" The alien woman stepped forward, her movements graceful, almost like she was floating. "I am Princess Lyra of the Arendari," she said, her voice trembling slightly. "My ship, it was attacked. I was the only one who survived." Ethan's heart tightened at the sight of her. There was a fear in her eyes, but also something else, something urgent. "I can help," he said. "Do you need repairs? Food, anything?" Lyra shook her head. "It is not just my ship that needs saving, human. My people, my world, they are in danger, and I have no one else to turn to." Ethan frowned, feeling a weight he could not understand. "Why me?" he asked. She took a hesitant step closer. Because of a bond that was foretold long ago. A human will come, one who carries the courage and heart to stand by me. Without you, my world will fall." Her voice quivered as she spoke, but there was a sincerity in her eyes that shook him. Ethan glanced around the broken ship, unsure what to do. "A bond? Wait. Are you saying I'm supposed to—" Lyra interrupted him softly. "I know this is sudden. I know it is strange. But there is no time to explain everything. My people believe that our worlds are connected, and the only way to secure peace is through a union, not out of desire, but out of duty. Please, Ethan, trust me." Ethan's mind raced. The words sounded impossible, almost laughable, and yet the look in her eyes told him she was serious. Something in the way she stood, the urgency in her voice, and the calm strength beneath her fear made him believe her. Before he could respond, the ship shuddered violently. Alarms blared and panels sparked around them. "What's happening?" he shouted. "They've found me," Lyra said, her voice tight with fear. "The invaders. They won't leave me alive." "We must leave now." Ethan's mind acted quickly. He grabbed her hand, and together they ran through the corridors. Sparks flew and the floor shook beneath them. He led her to the shuttle bay, finding an old escape pod. It was barely operational, but it would get them away from the wreck. As they launched into space, Lyra turned to him. "Ethan, I must tell you something," she said, her voice quivering. "I carry the future of my people. If I am lost, everything will be lost. You are part of this now. You are bound to me in a way you cannot yet understand." Ethan's breath caught. "Bound how?" She looked down, then back at him, eyes filled with determination. "By choice, by prophecy, by duty, I am asking you to stand with me, to accept this bond and help save what I hold dear. Will you?" Will you marry me, Ethan? Not for love alone, but for the survival of two worlds. Ethan stared at her, the weight of the moment pressing on his chest. He had explored stars, faced dangers beyond imagination, but never had he been asked to carry a responsibility like this. He thought of the countless lives at stake, the alien princess standing before him, her trust and hope shining in her eyes. He swallowed hard. I don't fully understand, Princess Lyra, he said slowly, but I will stand by you. I will help your people. I will face whatever comes. Lyra's face lit up with relief, a soft smile breaking through the tension. That is all I ask, all I could ever ask. Thank you, Ethan. For the next few hours, they navigated through asteroid fields and remnants of space debris, pursued by ships intent on capturing Lyra. Ethan piloted the escape pod with skill he had learned over years of travel, while Lyra activated strange devices on the pod, enhancing shields and creating minor diversions. Together they worked seamlessly, learning to trust one another quickly. As the first light of a distant sun reflected on the pod's hull, Lyra finally allowed herself a moment of rest. Ethan, she said softly, I know this is overwhelming, but you must know. Without your courage, I would not have survived. You are exactly the human the prophecy spoke of. Ethan looked at her, the enormity of what she said settling into his mind. A prophecy, you mean? All of this was planned. Lyra nodded. Not all, but some things were foreseen. Some things cannot be avoided. The bond between human and Arendari, it is rare but essential. You were meant to find me, to help me. Ethan shook his head in disbelief. I'm just a human. I'm not a hero, I just did what anyone would do. Not anyone, Lyra said firmly. Only you would have had the heart, the courage, and the willingness to act when everything seemed impossible. That is why you were chosen. As they drifted through the empty space, the distant stars twinkling like promises of hope, Ethan realized that his life had changed forever. He had entered a universe of unknowns, and yet, standing beside Lyra, he felt a strange sense of purpose. A purpose that went beyond exploration, beyond adventure. It was something that connected him to the very fate of a world he had never imagined. And so, as the Aurora and the escape pod traveled toward an uncertain future, Ethan and Lyra began their journey. One of trust, of courage, and of an unspoken bond that neither fully understood yet. But one thing was certain, their destinies were now intertwined, and the galaxy itself waited to see what two unlikely allies, human and princess, could accomplish together. Little did they know, the enemies pursuing Lyra were more cunning and powerful than they had imagined, and the choices they would have to make in the coming days would test not only their skills and courage, but also the strength of the bond that had just begun. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls, feeling the weight of responsibility settle in his chest. Lyra, sitting beside him, reached out, her hand brushing against his. It was a small gesture, but one filled with trust and hope. Together they would face the challenges ahead. Together they would see the prophecy fulfilled or die trying. And in the vast emptiness of space, a new alliance had been formed, one that would shape the future of two worlds in ways that no one could yet imagine. The escape pod drifted silently for hours, the stars outside a constant, unchanging canvas. Ethan sat at the controls, his eyes scanning the instruments while Lyra studied a small holographic map projected from her device. The enemy ships were fast, intelligent, and persistent, but they seemed to lack the understanding of the bond that now connected human and princess. That bond, invisible yet powerful, was something no technology could predict. Ethan glanced at Lyra. We need a plan. We can't just keep running forever. Lyra nodded. Her silver-toned skin reflected the faint light from the hologram, and her eyes held a determination that was almost radiant. I know, my people. Our civilization has defenses. Ancient ones that even the invaders do not expect. But to activate them, we need to reach my homeworld. And the path is dangerous, Ethan swallowed. Dangerous how? Lyra's gaze shifted, serious and unflinching. We must travel through the Veil of Shadows, a region of space that few survive. It is filled with energy storms, gravity distortions, and remnants of ancient battles. But it is also the fastest route. It will take skill and trust. Ethan tightened his grip on the controls, feeling both fear and excitement. He had faced dangerous missions before, but nothing like this. Then let's trust each other. I'll follow your lead. Lyra's lips curved into a faint, grateful smile. Thank you, Ethan. That is all I ask. The pod entered the Veil of Shadows. Immediately the stars began to twist and shimmer. Energy surges crackled across the hull, and the instruments flickered in warning. Ethan's hands moved quickly, adjusting the pod's shields, rerouting power and compensating for gravitational anomalies. Lyra's device hummed, sending pulses that stabilized the ship momentarily. Together they navigated through the chaos, moving like dancers in a dangerous waltz with the universe itself. Suddenly, a massive shadow loomed ahead. One of the enemy ships had anticipated their route and blocked the path. Ethan froze for a split second, then acted instinctively. He accelerated, banking sharply while Lyra activated a pulse that created a temporary energy barrier around the pod. Sparks flew, and the enemy ship fired, but the pod slipped through, narrowly avoiding destruction. "Impressive," Lyra said, her voice filled with awe. "You think quickly." "That saved us," Ethan exhaled sharply. "I'm just lucky. And maybe a little scared." Lyra shook her head. "No, Ethan, it is more than luck. It is courage. And it is exactly what my people need. Courage combined with action. That is why you were chosen." Hours passed. They faced asteroid storms, energy vortices, and the constant threat of enemy ambushes. Yet with every obstacle, their trust in each other grew. Ethan learned to anticipate Lyra's commands before she spoke them. Lyra began to rely on his instincts as much as her own knowledge of the stars. In the silent moments, they shared stories of home, dreams of peace, and even laughter at the absurdity of their situation. Finally, the Veil of Shadows ended, opening onto a breathtaking view of Lyra's homeworld. The planet glowed with turquoise oceans and forests that shimmered in shades no human had names for. Massive floating cities hovered above the surface, their architecture both elegant and alien. Energy flowed like rivers in the sky, connecting towers, bridges, and spires in a network of light. Ethan felt a sense of awe that went beyond wonder. "It's incredible," he breathed. Lyra smiled softly. "Welcome to Arendar. This is my home, and soon, with your help, it will be safe once more." Their arrival, however, did not go unnoticed. The enemy ships had followed them, though many had been damaged or lost in the Veil. The remaining fleet moved into attack formation, preparing to strike the planet. Ethan and Lyra landed the pod in a secure docking bay within one of the floating cities. Emergency sirens blared as the city's defense systems came online. Lyra turned to Ethan. "We have little time. The enemy seeks to capture me and enslave my people. To stop them, we must activate the core of light, the planet's ultimate defense. But it requires a bond, your bond with me, to function fully." Ethan frowned. "A bond? You mean the prophecy thing again?" Lyra nodded. "Yes, it is not magic, not in your understanding. It is energy, a connection between souls that allows us to channel power greater than anything else. Only when we act together can the core awaken." Ethan took a deep breath. "Then let's do it." They entered a massive chamber at the heart of the city, a cathedral-like space with walls of crystal and veins of glowing energy. At the center, a pedestal hummed with anticipation. Lyra took Ethan's hands in hers, and a pulse of energy surged between them. The core responded, lighting up like a star born from the ground. Outside, the enemy fleet began their assault, firing massive energy beams at the planet. But from the city, beams of pure light shot into the sky, forming barriers and pushing back the invaders. The humans and aliens who had survived the initial attacks watched in awe, as the city itself seemed to come alive, defending its people with precision and power. Ethan marveled at the sight. "It's beautiful." Lyra squeezed his hands. "And it is just the beginning. Together, we are stronger than they imagined." The battle raged for hours. Enemy ships were destroyed, their formations broken and their morale faltering. Ethan and Lyra worked in perfect harmony, activating defense nodes, redirecting energy flows, and strategizing in real time. Finally, the last of the enemy fleet retreated, damaged and demoralized. As silence returned to the planet, Lyra turned to Ethan, her eyes shining with gratitude and relief. "You did it, we did it. Arendar is safe." Ethan smiled, though exhaustion weighed heavily on him. "We did it together." Lyra's gaze softened, and for the first time her royal composure gave way to something warmer. "Ethan, I know this bond began out of necessity, but now I feel something more. Not just the prophecy, not just duty, but trust and perhaps hope." Ethan chuckled softly. "Hope, huh? I think I can manage that." She laughed, a sound that echoed through the chamber like music. Then, in a voice both serious and filled with emotion, she said, "Ethan, will you stay? Not because the prophecy demands it, not because of duty, but because you wish to. Will you stand by my side as my ally, my partner, my companion?" Ethan paused, thinking of the journey they had taken, the dangers they had faced, and the bond that had grown between them. He thought of the lives saved, the worlds protected, and the trust that had been built, and he knew without hesitation the choice was clear. "I will," he said firmly. "I will stay, not for prophecy, not for duty, but because I believe in you, in your people, and in what we can achieve together." Lyra's eyes shimmered, tears of relief and happiness forming. She reached out and held his face gently. "Then we are partners, Ethan. Not because we had to be, but because we choose to be." The two of them stood there, hands joined, as the city of Arendar hummed around them, alive and victorious. The prophecy had been fulfilled, but more importantly, a new chapter had begun. One built on trust, courage, and the unshakable bond between a human and an alien princess. As night fell over the planet, the stars shining brighter than ever, Ethan realized that his journey through the galaxy had changed him. He had discovered not just the unknown wonders of space, but also the strength of the human heart when faced with impossible odds. And beside him, Lyra represented not just a new world, but a new hope, proof that together species could rise above fear, conflict, and uncertainty. In the days that followed, Ethan helped Lyra restore her people's cities, strengthen their defenses, and rebuild the alliances necessary for peace. And in quiet moments when the tasks of leadership allowed, they would stand together gazing at the stars, sharing stories, laughter, and the comfort of knowing they were no longer alone. The galaxy, vast and mysterious, still held dangers and challenges, but Ethan Shaw and Princess Lyra knew one thing for certain: together they could face anything. And as they looked out over the thriving world below, they understood that the bond they shared was more than prophecy. It was hope, courage, and a promise of a future where humans and Arendari could stand together, side by side, shaping the stars themselves. And so, a human and an alien princess united by fate and choice began a new chapter, not of war, not of fear, but of trust, adventure, and the endless possibilities of the universe.